I want to point out a few things that I like to talk about here. Now, these are capped off today. But you notice there is no privacy here. There's none at all. You're going to get to know your friends. You're going to get to know your family here. There's a couple things that I like to point out. First, I was up here in March for one of my many planning trips, and I'm around the corner, and there's no one here except for like 2 other people. And they start walking up, and I yell down, "Occupied!" And the woman just like, and her husband starts cracking up. This would be your latrines, but what you have to remember, these are an afterthought. How do you know? Look at the wall over here. This was an exit and entryway. So they capped this off. They put in our latrines. Gary,
Gary popped out of a latrine.
wouldn't be the first time. It's still a defensive position. So who wants to defend in here if they come on the landward side? It's still a defensive position. But what happens here, I want you to think about if you're an attacking soldier, the worst part about this is that what happens here, there's no flushing. It goes right into the actual moat. Then the tide is supposed to flush your toilets for you. And think about it, the tide might come in high, but it might just sink. So everything around us is turning into a cesspool. So you already have, you're on the coast, hopefully there's a breeze, but the stench and the bugs. And they're also going to throw other things out in there. So when you think about attacking, a fort or a castle, even in the times, my favorite thing to do is talk about castles when I'm in Europe leading a tour. And you look up and you see there's these beautiful white walls sometimes, and you see this little bulge in a wall, and that's usually the privy. And all they did was go on the outside of the wall, and it would drop into the moat. We're talking sometimes 4 or 5 stories up. And it was some poor bastard's job to go there and paint the wall every once in a while and throw water down into it. But that too went down into the moat. So think about that. If you're wounded, not only are you wearing wool, if this is the assault, and you have to take this, it's going to soak into your clothes. Then if you're hit, that's going to carry so much disease into your body. And that is just going to be nasty. This is one of the reasons why these guys die more of disease. All the way through World War I, that we have more deaths by disease until World War II. That's when we have more combat killed due to bullets and shells and everything. So this is an afterthought. So think about that. And you can even defend it. This would have been over here. This wall was actually here as what we call a traverse. There's 2 holes over in the wall. In case they came up over the top, the attackers, you could then defend from this position, and you can defend from this position. And the last thing that I'll say about some of these fortifications, you'll see archways. They're used everywhere. They're very powerful, very strong. And some of them are what we call double archways. They'll have an archway that you see, and then there's one that you don't see. It's almost like a large circle that actually is going to give so much more reinforcement, and that's what's going to allow you to get the guns up on the top. Otherwise, this masonry will fall in on top of you. If you get a chance to go to Fort Pickens, which is over in Pensacola, there's a beautiful representation of it, that they dug out, the archaeologists, and you can actually see the archway on the top and the archway on the bottom, and then we just fill it in. So if you need to use it, I'll get out of the way. But, feel free to take a walk around.